When I said Whoopi Goldberg was the help, let me tell you what I meant by that. When I have a woman that says to me on national TV, I could have schooled you. Well, you wanted to school me on how I was supposed to work for free. I simply don't want that type of education.
There's a surprising rift that's lasted nearly a decade between two influential figures in the entertainment world. What could cause a veteran star to completely despise one of her own industry colleagues, especially someone as beloved and well-known as Whoopi Goldberg? This isn't just a tale of personal dislike. It touches on complex issues like fairness, power, and unspoken rules behind Hollywood's glittering curtain. The reasons behind this deep resentment reveal far more than just a clash between two personalities. They expose a harsh reality many insiders hesitate to discuss. The public fallout in 2018. The tension between Monique and Whoopi Goldberg became impossible to ignore in 2018 during a heated exchange on the talk show The View. Monique openly challenged Whoopi's stance about contractual obligations for promoting movies, sparking a public confrontation that many found surprising given Whoopi's usually diplomatic reputation. The conflict centered on Monique's refusal to do international press for her acclaimed role in the 2009 film Precious. Whoopi insisted it was standard industry expectation that actors promote their projects, while Monique argued she was being asked to perform unpaid labor that wasn't outlined in her contract. What made this confrontation more potent was the backdrop beyond just a contractual disagreement. Monique's refusal to comply ignited discussions about fairness and whether certain talents, particularly black women, are held to different standards in Hollywood. Fans and insiders watched as the conversation quickly spiraled into what felt like more than just a debate about promoting a film. The tension hinted at deeper resentment brewing over the years within the industry. Throughout the segment, Whoopi stood firmly on the contractual point, emphasizing that whoever you sign with, part of the deal is to support the movie's success. Yet, Monique retorted with a fervor that suggested she felt personally and professionally stifled. She insisted that if she had breached any real legal obligation, there would have been a lawsuit. This defense added complexity, indicating her resistance was not just about money, but about principle. The fallout extended beyond that single episode. Monique's vocal stance led many to believe that the rift between her and Whoopi was emblematic of broader industry conflicts, including discrimination and favoritism. Suddenly, this was no longer just about one film or one promotional tour. It became a flashpoint in ongoing conversations about respect and equity for black entertainers. The public became aware that Monique, at the 2017 Academy Awards, refused to participate in promotional activities after she passed away. The View segment showed The View actors creating a situation that represented their unsatisfied emotions about the unfair treatment they experienced from the entertainment industry. Whoopi displayed her authority as a moderator, which created doubts about her loyalty and her ability to control the boundaries people choose to establish. The two parties disagreed about promotional matters, but the public became interested when Whoopi was appointed to direct the 2014 Academy Awards. This letter questioned whether Whoopi's position was genuinely about standing up against injustice or simply supporting the right people in Hollywood's inner circles. The public dispute escalated into a major incident because of its high-profile nature, which involved two famous people. The observers showed their highest interest in the extended period of silence, which preceded the violent confrontation. Why wait 8 years to confront Whoopi so openly? Monique expressed her belief that she needed to stand up for herself against years of unfair treatment, yet fans and experts believed that her decision showed industry trends that demanded more openness. The story promised more beneath the surface. People started to question the hidden agreements that controlled Hollywood through its secret power structures, while public hatred between the two parties continued to grow. What had fueled such a deep resentment to the point of public confrontation? The answer remained unknown at that moment, yet the developing story would expose two main stars together with their complete supporting system. Beneath the bold words and pointed accusations lay a complex story of contracts, expectations, and what it really means to be unpaid labor in the entertainment industry. Contractual disputes explored. At the center of the fallout was Monique's refusal to participate in international press commitments for Precious, a decision she justified by saying that these obligations were not spelled out in her contract. Monique viewed promotional appearances as additional work that should be compensated rather than expected. This distinction became the crux of a complex disagreement about what actors are really required to do once the cameras stop rolling. Whoopi Goldberg and others maintained that movie promotion is an understood part of any acting job, an unwritten but inevitable expectation built into the business model. From this perspective, refusing promotional work is a breach of contract, even if not explicitly detailed. This created a clash of viewpoints, one focusing on formal agreements, the other on industry norms and pressures. Publicly, Monique emphasized that if there had truly been a contract violation on her part, legal action would have followed. Instead, she believed she was being penalized unfairly and used as an example. This framed her stand as resisting what she called unpaid labor, an issue many actors and creatives face but rarely challenge, especially in Hollywood's rigid structures. This debate touches on a much larger conversation about how work in entertainment is defined and valued. Actors are hired to perform roles but asked to promote projects in numerous extra ways that blur the line between contract and expectation. Monique's refusal exposed a fault line in this system, raising questions about exploitation and fairness. The promotional work for films through press tours and film festivals has existed since the start of movie marketing, according to industry professionals. The financial industry does not establish formal methods to acknowledge these activities as professional work. The requirement for certain tasks creates an ethical and financial challenge for Monique because these requirements are applied to her differently from other people. The racial and gender dynamics of Monique's case created additional complications for the case. She claimed that she received different treatment from her fellow comedians and actors because of various reasons, which included her pay and negotiating results. The situation demonstrated how institutionalized unfairness created restrictions on contract execution and performance requirements. The dispute showed how contract terms and industry standards create opposing forces that determine professional outcomes and public perception. Monique advocates for her rights at work, which leads to negative consequences for her. But she initiates essential conversations about worker entitlements and professional respect. The contractual issues need understanding because they explain how a private disagreement turned into a national conflict, which revealed Hollywood's concealed regulations and their effects on rule-breaking behavior. The conflict emerges from deeper reasons that connect to the influential figures who control Hollywood operations from their hidden positions, while the industry alliances, together with vital individuals who are part of this story. The tangled web of contracts only deepens when loyalty and influence from Hollywood's most powerful figures come into play. Hollywood's hidden power behind the feud. At the heart of this conflict is more than just contracts. Hollywood's complicated power dynamics have long shaped careers, opportunities, and public narratives. Monique has pointed to influential figures like Tyler Perry, Oprah Winfrey, and studio executives as central to how her story unfolded. These alliances have an outsized influence on who succeeds and who faces roadblocks behind the scenes. Tyler Perry, an industry titan known for championing Black talent, was reportedly frustrated with Monique, labeling her difficult at one point. Perry has a close friendship with Whoopi Goldberg, which some believe influenced Whoopi's attitudes during the 2018 confrontation. This triangle of relationships complicated an already tense dispute, with loyalties and reputations hanging in the balance. Oprah Winfrey, who produced Precious and helped bring it to widespread attention, is also intertwined in this narrative. Monique's criticism extends to unnamed executives and producers close to Oprah, who she suspects played a role in blocking opportunities or shaping public perception of her. These are powerful people whose networks reach deeply into Hollywood's decision-making. Monique's claims of career sabotage and retaliation suggest a system that punishes those who challenge the status quo. She says this network of power has directly impacted her livelihood, making it difficult to secure roles or fair treatment. This paints a picture of Hollywood not merely as an industry, but as a gatekeeper wielding authority through personal relationships. Public responses to these allegations have been mixed, with some supporting Monique's call-out as a fight against systemic injustice, while others remain skeptical without concrete proof of sabotage. Still, the story resonates with wider concerns about transparency, fairness, and who gets to decide success. This power dynamic also reveals why some stars may hesitate to speak out or confront peers publicly. The intertwining relationships can make disputes feel personal, but also fatal for careers. Whoopi's position on The View may have been shaped not just by principle, but by the alliances that surround her. Thus, the feud between Monique and Whoopi is reflective of Hollywood's intricate ecosystem, where personalities, business interests, and friendships clash in ways rarely visible to outsiders. The industry often demands conformity to these invisible rules, and breaking them comes at a cost. The unfolding tension invites us to consider how much influence these power structures should have and what it means for artists trying to navigate their careers honestly. As this story develops, it challenges us to rethink the forces in play behind fame and fortune. These unseen powers contribute heavily to the narrative, but much of the personal toll and aftermath from this battle come into sharper focus when we examine the direct impact on Monique's life and career. Accusations of bullying and career damage. Monique has been vocal about the toll this conflict has taken on her life, painting a grim picture of what she calls bullying by powerful industry players. She claims that after standing her ground, her career suffered tremendously for nearly 8 years. Jobs vanished, opportunities dried up, and the financial impact was profound, not just on her, but on her entire family. This wasn't just about missed chances, it was a systemic backlash that she suggests was meant to silence her voice. She has described this period as a personal and professional exile, where the same studios and producers who once embraced her turned cold. Monique alleges that studios like Lionsgate, along with influential figures such as Tyler Perry, played a part in blacklisting her or making her career path more difficult. The message she received was clear: defy the expectations set by the industry, and the price will be steep. This experience is not unique in Hollywood, but the intensity she describes strikes a particularly devastating chord. Beyond lost roles, Monique says the psychological burden was immense. Speaking out in 2018, she revealed that for years she had been fighting a system that tried to diminish her influence and force compliance. The emotional impact extended far beyond the screen. It was about standing up to a power structure that seemed ready to erase a black woman who refused to be bullied into silence. Her family also felt the strain, as she mentioned how her loved ones suffered alongside her due to the fallout. For someone who has dedicated her life to comedy and acting, this kind of exclusion can feel like a punishment that targets identity and principles rather than performance or talent. It's a reminder that in the entertainment world, personal decisions can ripple through every corner of life. Monique uses her public statements and interviews to present her battle against an unjust power system that punishes nonconformists. She contests the unspoken standards that determine who in the entertainment industry can express their thoughts and who must remain silent. The way she handles her situation demonstrates how companies exploit contractual agreements and industry practices to mistreat workers. Monique shows her refusal to accept defeat by continuing her work despite these difficulties. She refuses to accept lower salaries and unjust treatment as a requirement for staying in the public eye. Her story functions as a greater demand for equal treatment, which extends beyond her own needs to benefit all creative professionals who face exclusion. The experiences of filmmakers show how existing Hollywood power structures create conflicts with both new filmmakers and industry experts. She argues that powerful people in the industry decide which individuals receive promotions and which people face termination. The situation leaves many people wondering about the number of talented individuals who experienced similar challenges, which resulted in their career setbacks. Monique has experienced increased public support during the past years, but her career still remains damaged because of the consequences she describes as the price for opposing an unyielding system. The success of a person depends on two factors, which need exploration according to her story. The public needs to rethink how they view those who opposed Monique's protest, because this situation raises a fundamental question about the woman who became involved in their first public conflict. The complexity deepens when we look closer at Whoopi Goldberg's own history with promotional obligations, revealing surprising contradictions that have sparked charges of hypocrisy. Whoopi's past actions scrutinized. As Monique continued speaking out about what she viewed as unfair treatment in Hollywood, her criticism eventually turned toward someone many people considered an ally within the industry, Whoopi Goldberg. Monique accused Goldberg of hypocrisy, arguing that the standards she publicly promoted did not always match her own past actions. According to Monique, it was troubling to be publicly criticized for refusing promotional duties when Goldberg herself had once reportedly attempted to avoid similar obligations. The controversy centers on an incident from the early 1990s involving the film Theodore Rex. Reports from that time suggested that Whoopi Goldberg had attempted to withdraw from promotional commitments tied to the movie. The situation eventually became a legal dispute between Goldberg and the film's producers before it was resolved. For Monique, that moment served as an example of what she believed was a double standard, one where powerful figures in Hollywood could resist expectations without facing the same scrutiny placed on others. When Monique raised this issue publicly, it added a new layer of tension to the already complicated relationship between the two entertainers. Goldberg had previously addressed Monique's industry conflicts during discussions on television, suggesting that fulfilling contractual obligations, including promotion, was simply part of the job. To Monique, hearing that message from someone who allegedly faced a similar situation years earlier felt unfair and deeply frustrating. The accusation struck a nerve because Whoopi Goldberg has long been viewed as a respected voice in entertainment, especially when it comes to advocating for women and people of color. Her reputation as someone who supports fairness and equality made the criticism even more striking. Monique argued that if public figures speak about professional responsibility, those expectations should apply consistently, regardless of fame, influence, or personal relationships. Another element of Monique's criticism involved Goldberg's connections with other powerful figures in Hollywood. She questioned whether those relationships influenced how industry disputes were interpreted. In particular, Monique suggested that loyalty to influential insiders might shape public commentary in ways that protect established networks rather than challenge them. Beyond the Theodore Rex incident, Monique also pointed to broader inequalities in entertainment contracts. She highlighted how some comedians, both male performers and other high-profile stars, had received significantly larger offers for stand-up specials than she had. For Monique, these differences reinforced her belief that black female comedians were often undervalued in negotiations. So far, Whoopi Goldberg has not publicly addressed these specific accusations in detail. The lack of a direct response has allowed the debate to continue among fans, commentators, and industry observers. Some people view Monique's claims as a legitimate critique of Hollywood's power dynamics, while others believe the conflict reflects a complex mix of personal grievances and professional disagreements. Regardless of which side people take, the dispute highlights a larger issue within the entertainment world. Hollywood is built on networks, alliances, and long-standing relationships that can influence how conflicts are interpreted. When disagreements become public, they often reveal how complicated the balance between principle, loyalty, and career survival can be. While these tensions reveal much about personal clashes, they also intersect with larger issues of race and gender, shaping the experience of artists navigating the entertainment world today. The racial and gender dimensions Beneath the surface of the Monique and Whoopi Goldberg feud lies a deeper struggle shaped by race and gender, fundamental realities that have long influenced Hollywood's history. Monique's criticism goes beyond personal grievances to highlight systemic discrimination faced by Black women in the entertainment industry. She has openly questioned the disparities in how Black female talent is valued compared to their white or male counterparts. This adds a crucial layer of context to the conflict, one that taps into ongoing conversations about equity and recognition. Her accusations pointedly included the uneven pay structures within comedy and film. Monique noted how she was offered considerably less money than comedians like Amy Schumer or male legends in the field, despite comparable or greater acclaim. This glaring pay gap underscored her belief that Black actresses and comedians remain undervalued and underpaid due to entrenched biases. It's a problem many acknowledge, but few confront openly in Hollywood's mainstream circles. Gender also plays a significant role in the narrative. Women in entertainment often face heightened expectations and scrutiny, especially when they challenge industry norms. Monique's refusal to participate in certain promotional activities was framed by some as difficult or uncooperative, labels frequently deployed against women who resist pressure. This dynamic displays how sexism intersects fatally with race to limit opportunities and silence dissenting voices. Moreover, the public nature of Monique's conflict with Whoopi, a fellow Black woman, added complexity to the racial and gender dimensions. Some critics argued that by clashing publicly, the feud played into stereotypes or distracted from solidarity within marginalized communities. However, Monique positioned her outspoken stance as a necessary act of defiance against a system that often pits women against one another rather than addressing structural inequities. The industry needs to address her demand for fairness because it exposes the existing silence that permeates these matters. The Hollywood industry displays commitment to diverse representation through its inclusion policies, but Monique shows that actors receive unequal treatment regarding their salary and professional development opportunities. Public statements about equality create a situation that makes minority artists face challenges when they attempt to establish their careers. The conflict between Monique and Whoopi displays a common historical pattern that shows how African American entertainers with power must choose between maintaining the current system or bringing about necessary changes for the community. The need to establish alliances creates a situation where people face difficulties in balancing their career needs with their personal values. People who observe these contradictions experience both overwhelming emotional distress and extreme confusion. According to researchers who study this issue, Monique raised awareness about race and gender matters, which led to essential discussions regarding representation that extends from acting roles to salary distribution and the path to leadership positions. Her story presents difficult inquiries about who receives advantages from Hollywood's changing environment and who remains excluded from its benefits. The film prompts viewers to examine the requirements for actual equality, which extend past basic public awareness. Many people who share similar experiences with Monique find her open nature to be their relatable point of connection. Her narrative became a representation of major social movements that demanded that organizations take responsibility for their actions while creating equitable systems. Personal disputes within the entertainment industry function as small-scale representations of all the social conflicts that exist in society. As these complicated issues of race and gender simmered beneath the surface, they combined with legal and financial realities in shaping how Monique's long fight for recognition and fairness finally took form. Attempts at resolution and settlements. After years of public conflict, stalled opportunities, and outspoken criticism of Hollywood's power structure, a major turning point finally arrived in Monique's long-running dispute with Netflix. The comedian had accused the streaming giant of discrimination after she claimed the company offered her a dramatically lower payment for a stand-up special compared with other comedians. According to Monique, the offer reflected a pattern she believed existed in the entertainment industry. where race and gender could quietly influence pay negotiations behind closed doors. Her accusations quickly reignited a broader conversation about fairness in Hollywood contracts. Pay disparities among entertainers were not a new issue, but Monique's decision to challenge a powerful streaming platform publicly brought renewed attention to the topic. Many supporters argued that her willingness to speak out forced uncomfortable but necessary conversations about how talent is valued in an industry often criticized for opaque deal-making and unequal compensation. After years of legal tension and public debate, the dispute eventually moved toward resolution. In 2023, Netflix released Monique's stand-up special titled My Name is Monique. The special marked the end of the legal battle between the comedian and the streaming company. While the details of the settlement were not fully disclosed, the release itself symbolized a complicated form of reconciliation between both sides. For Monique, the moment carried more meaning than simply releasing another comedy special. It represented persistence after years of professional challenges that many believed had slowed her career. The project allowed her to reintroduce herself to audiences on one of the largest entertainment platforms in the world, reminding viewers of the sharp humor and confident stage presence that originally made her a standout voice in comedy. Yet the settlement did not erase the past. Monique remained clear in interviews that her fight had never been solely about money. Instead, she framed her stance as a matter of dignity, respect, and equal treatment. Throughout the dispute, she consistently argued that entertainers should not be afraid to challenge systems that undervalue them. Her refusal to quietly accept the original offer became central to how many people interpreted the entire conflict. The public response to the resolution showed two opposing viewpoints. The supporters saw the special's release as proof of Monique's strength, and they believed her advocacy would lead to future acknowledgement. The others showed skepticism because they wanted to know if the settlement established true cultural changes or functioned as a temporary solution to end a disputed matter. The case demonstrated how modern entertainment operates regardless of which explanation people choose to believe. Artists now use contracts, negotiations, and streaming agreements as their battlefields to obtain recognition, together with fair payment. Monique's decision to fight against a major media corporation showed that more actors now speak up about their treatment problems. The launch of My Name is Monique created fresh excitement about her professional life. The people who had tracked the dispute learned that Monique remains an accomplished comedian with a powerful voice. She returned to the stage to show her professional comeback while demonstrating that she had not been excluded from public discussions. The settlement created two new paths, which ended one existing path. Monique's narrative demonstrates how people need to consider two main factors about institutional power dynamics that operate between two separate systems of responsibility. The resolution created another key point, which continues to shape the current discourse about Hollywood's equality between different groups. With the echoes of this settlement still resonating, the bigger conversation emerges about accountability, standards, and the future path for artists demanding change. The bigger conversation about industry standards. Monique's public battle with Whoopi Goldberg and Hollywood's power brokers has sparked a wider conversation about accountability and fairness in the entertainment industry. Her case shines a spotlight on the invisible rules that govern careers, often shaped less by talent and more by conformity and compliance. This conflict challenges the long-standing belief that success in Hollywood is purely merit-based, exposing an ecosystem where relationships and unspoken expectations carry enormous influence over who rises and who is sidelined. At the center of this debate is the question of who enforces these industry norms and why they persist. Monique has criticized not only individuals, but also the broader system that enables unequal treatment, particularly for marginalized artists. Her call for fairness confronts decades of entrenched practices that prioritize profitability and control over genuine equity and respect for diverse voices. Her open letter addressing Goldberg and the public brought uncomfortable truths about loyalty and power into the spotlight. It raised the question of whether standing up for justice requires opposing allies, or if doing so carries consequences too severe to risk. This dilemma resonates with many artists who understand the dangers of challenging established hierarchies, where even justified resistance can lead to isolation and professional setbacks. Pay equity has also become a central issue in this conflict. Monique compared her compensation offers to those of other comedians, highlighting stark disparities shaped by both gender and race. This comparison invites a broader examination of how Hollywood assigns value to talent and determines where to invest its financial and promotional resources. The dispute also underscores the importance of transparency in contracts and negotiations. Many performers enter agreements without fully understanding promotional expectations or the consequences of refusing them. Monique's decision to decline unpaid promotional work sparked critical conversations about labor rights, emphasizing the need for clearer standards and fair compensation for all aspects of creative work. Additionally, the situation highlights the toll that professional pressures can take on mental health. By prioritizing her dignity and boundaries, Monique drew attention to the difficult balance between career demands and personal well-being, an issue that affects many within the industry. For younger generations, her stance has become a source of inspiration. It encourages emerging artists to advocate for fair treatment, understand their value, and demand equitable opportunities. While change may be gradual and met with resistance, the ripple effect of her actions continues to influence conversations about fairness. Ultimately, this ongoing dispute reveals that fairness in entertainment extends beyond contracts. It reflects broader societal values about dignity, respect, and equal opportunity principles that remain at the heart of Monique's fight. Monique's clash with Whoopi Goldberg exposed deeper issues of power, fairness, and respect in Hollywood. Her story challenges us to rethink how the industry treats its talent, especially those from marginalized communities. If you found this breakdown insightful, don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories that dig beneath the surface of fame and fortune. And stay with us by clicking the video now appearing on your screen for the next story you won't want to miss.